Hello, Padma. Say happy Saturday, everyone. Happy Saturday. Blow kisses. Yes, blow some kisses. Hello, Michelle. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining. This is my pet fish, Padma. For joining and supporting, and my lighting here because of my, here we go, I'm going to set, perfect, yes, nice. Well, great, thank you for all the green hearts, the green love. I love green, that's my favorite color. I am so happy you guys can join me today. Yes, first time. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and joining my scope. And I'm Marjorie Phoenix from marjoriephoenix.com, and I am an author of the book, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are? It's a memoir, and it talks about my story from being an upper middle. Oh, this is your first time too, Michelle. Great. Well, my book, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are, talks about my story from being an upper middle class stay-at-home mom to in 24 hours becoming homeless and penniless and fighting over a year and a half to regain custody of my 6-year-old child and to rebuild my life. It's really a story about abuse and just overcoming a really traumatic situation. So what I've been doing in my scopes is I've been sort of introducing people to me and sharing my story, but I've also been sharing my experiences and the things that I've done to overcome this issue. And so I've been researching, I've been reading, and I'm also at this time studying trauma and abuse. I'm pursuing my degree in sociology. And but that's just all to help cement a lot of this stuff and just give me more of a foundation with a study and research in this area. But my work is to, provide women who've gone through abuse and trauma to help them reclaim their lives and really do it in a way that is going to be, practices self-love, self-healing, and self-care. And so that's what this is all about. And I am all about the empowerment part of this. So today I want to talk about something that, and please, if you know anyone that could use this message, I invite you to please share this on Twitter or with your followers, because we definitely need to talk. You used to work with the domestic violence victim advocate. That work is some heavy work right there. And, so I'm finding my place right now and my niche, so to speak, with the specific women that I want to be able to work with. And so all of the information that I'm sharing, I know that the women who are going to gravitate towards it, they're at a particular place in their healing process. So this is all about empowering right now. And so I want to talk about, so I've gone through my introduction, you all know who I am. So I want to talk about checking yourself. And that's really about keeping your emotions in check. Now, what's so funny is this morning I woke up, I did not have a scope in mind. And I usually tell people I just let the Spirit lead me to what I'm going to scope about. There's sometimes I plan it. But this morning I woke up and I just happened to be reading a post on Facebook on the page for Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he was talking about, he used the analogy of an orange. And when you squeeze an orange, you will get out of it orange juice, right? But what would happen if someone squeezed you or pressured you in a way? What would come out of you? And so he says, if pain and anger and fear are all of those things that are inside of you, then that's what's going to happen during a pressure point in your life when you're under pressure, right? So there was a lot of argument on his page about this, right? Because people were debating back and forth about, there's no good or bad emotions, there's no negative and there's no positive, and I understand emotions are there and they're important to our survival, right? So the fight or flight thing, and we need to be able to have emotions so we know what we need to do next, right? And what's happening to us and to bring that aware. But the other thing that Dr. Dyer said was, if you take away all the negative things that you've allowed into your life inside and you replace them with love, that's the solution. So replace them with love. And I want to ask you, because I really wanted to engage folks in this conversation today, is do you agree with that? Do you think it's as simple as replacing these negative emotions, anger, the pain you're feeling, your resentfulness, your fear, all of this stuff, just replacing it with love? And when people use that, when they say, well, all you need is love, that's the Christian philosophy, we have to walk in love. What does that really mean? What does that really mean for us to replace these emotions that are causing us to feel bad with love? Okay, so I want you to just think about that. And if you have any insight, just share that, with us. So a conversation that I was having yesterday over breakfast, I was having this breakfast meeting and, and I was talking with someone about the healing process, and they said, well, everyone's journey is different. Okay, that's true. Everyone's healing process is different. And especially when it's a very sensitive subject when you talk about domestic abuse, okay? You don't force people, you don't push people. That's right, because everybody's experience is going to be different. But the healing process, there is some common threads there. There are some things that we know we need to do to grow and move out of it, right? So we know that there's a forgiveness component. But, whether that's forgiving the other person or forgiving yourselves, whatever that is. Hello, is that Mindful Connect? Hello, thank you for joining. We know that there's personal responsibility. There's a self-identity process that you have to go through. So there's so many different points in this that we have to go through that is a commonality in the healing process. But the first thing that I always say is, it's a decision. You have got to decide. Healing starts when you decide, and then you decide at that point at what degree of healing you want to go through. And that's when I talk about, and some of you have heard me talk about the different zones. You're in a victim mentality, or you're in a survivor mentality, or you're in a thriver mentality. So some of us will take some of that healing process and just stop and rest at a particular spot there in one of those zones, at being a survivor and not thriving beyond that. So everyone has to decide on that degree of healing. What I love about Dr. Dyer's philosophy is he talks a lot about having an examined life. Hello, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Wayne Dyer talks a lot about the examined life, looking at yourself. And that is not an easy thing to do. We spend a lot of time looking out, pointing our fingers out, pointing the blame at someone else. The circumstances of our life is because of that. It's never us. Because when we have to check ourselves and examine ourselves, that becomes difficult. It's the same thing with Jesus in the scriptures. Whenever people would challenge Jesus and ask him a question, what would he do? He would ask them a question back. Well, what do you think? What do you say? Or he would meet him with a story of some kind that would force them to think and examine themselves and examine their lives. So when all of that is a part of checking yourself and really examining your life. So when I thought about this, I said, well, one of the things that we have to realize, if we have this pain, this fear, this anger, and we're dealing with these things, right? What would be one of the first steps that we would want to do in examining ourselves? And I think an important part of that would be in the acknowledging phase. You want to acknowledge that these things are there. Okay? And no judging, just sort of noticing. And sometimes you have to sit and just ask yourself, what would happen if I get pressured right now? How am I reacting when I am pushed a little bit? And just look at yourself from another perspective. I am always a bit bitter. I'm cynical. I'm always complaining. I am whining a lot. I am worrying a lot. Every day it seems like I'm depressed about something. And so that's a part of the acknowledging. So you're acknowledging that this is going on. So for me, right now, I have to acknowledge where some of my fears come from, right? And one of the fears is I worry a lot about becoming homeless again. Now that's big for me to say because I live with that every time I get up trying to figure out what I can do so that I won't be homeless again. I fear that no matter where I am in my life. And so it's this mechanism that just clicks in me that I start to worry. So what I have to do then is sit back and say, okay, now there's a root to this. There is a root to whatever this emotion is that I'm feeling. Where's that root coming from? I had a coach that told me once to talk to that emotion, that fear, that anger, whatever it is. So in my worrying, talking to my worrying and say, you know what? Yes, I know. I understand. We don't want to not have a roof over our heads. We don't ever want to be in that situation. But if we don't move forward in fear, we'll never know what life can be. And so talking myself through that, but I had to acknowledge it first, right? So I had to really examine myself. So I know that much. But then let's go back to what Dr. Dyer said. Replacing these negative emotions with love. And I don't know if it's that simple in just replacing it with love. Now, when I thought about it, I thought, well, maybe it's just self-love. Maybe that's just where I need to start right now. I need to replace these negative emotions with self-love, love of myself. And what does that mean? Well, that means that I'm doing the work I should, right? I'm taking the time to do the work that I should through my healing process. I'm not letting my emotions take over. And I'm not going to let myself be an emotional mess. Okay? So I'm making myself a priority. And so this is all a part of checking yourself and being very yes, that self-love makes a lot of sense. So, even if that's just the place to start from. And when you think about love incorporates a lot of different things. It incorporates compassion and patience, and kindness and empathy and all these sorts of things. And that is very important. But when you are struggling with emotions sometimes, it may not be as easy for you to do that. So where's a starting point? A starting point would be, you know what? Let me love myself. And I'm a big, I promote that. Self-love, self-care, and self-healing. That's a huge part of the healing process. So maybe it just starts there. So anyway, all of this is just to say, I want you to think about what do you need to examine in your life right now as far as any negative emotions that may be keeping you stuck, that may be keeping you from moving forward, keeping you from the life that you really want. Or something, just examine, how are you under pressure? How are you when, someone pushes you, when you're being challenged? How do you respond and react to that? That's a sign of all of that stuff that's inside of you. And really take a look at yourself. So I really want you to take that to heart and start practicing that on a daily basis, to really self-examine. And if something comes up for you, acknowledge it, right? And to always check yourself and check your emotions. So guys, I just wanted to remind you that I'm doing that live drawing on Monday for the free retreat, September 25th to 27th with me, the New Beginnings Retreat. So I'm going to be drawing from all the names of people who've reviewed my book, which you can still get on Amazon. And there's still time to do it. If you get the Kindle version, it's a very quick read. And you can write a review, and you can be automatically entered into the drawing for that retreat on September 25th to 27th. And if you've missed any of my scopes, I invite you to go to YouTube. And you can find me everywhere on social media as Marjorie Phoenix, not hard to find, and then at marjoriephoenix.com. So as always, it's a pleasure to be able to share space with you and go out and change the world. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining Michelle and everyone else. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.